A contested frontline sector in eastern region. 0540 hours during dense morning fog. Temperature +4 Celsius with humidity at 97%. Visibility reduced to 20 to 30 meters through ground fog covering terrain to height of 4 meters. A Russian infantry assault force attempting to exploit fog conditions for surprise attack against Ukrainian defensive positions. 987 personnel organized in assault battalion, 736 infantry in 8 companies, 129 heavy weapons teams with machine guns and mortars, 82 grenadiers with RPG systems, 40 command and support staff. Force was entirely dismounted infantry, no armored support due to terrain restrictions, and belief fog would provide concealment, making armor unnecessary. Mission was penetrating Ukrainian defensive line during fog cover, seizing forward positions before visibility improved, then holding captured terrain for exploitation by follow-on forces. Personnel represented substantial training investment. Infantry training requires 6 months at cost of $42,000 per soldier. 736 infantry represented $30.9 million. Heavy weapons specialists require additional 4 months training at cost of $18,000 beyond basic infantry. 129 specialists represented additional $2.3 million. Grenadiers require specialized anti-tank training costing $12,000. 82 grenadiers represented additional $1 million. Command staff and officers represented combined 10 years military academy and service training valued at approximately $6.2 million. Total personnel training investment exceeded $40.4 million. Equipment investment was significant despite infantry focus. Each soldier carried rifle valued at $1,200, body armor at $800, helmet at $400, night vision equipment at $3,500, radio at $2,000, ammunition and supplies at $600. Average equipment value per soldier was $8,500. 987 soldiers represented $8.4 million in personal equipment. Heavy weapons included 18 PKM machine guns at $4,000 each, 23 cord heavy machine guns at $12,000 each, 12 82mm mortars at $18,000 each, 82 RPG-7 systems at $2,000 each. Total heavy weapons value exceeded $800,000. Combined equipment investment approached $9.2 million. Ukrainian defensive position was reinforced company of 217 personnel occupying fortified trenches with comprehensive sensor coverage. Position was equipped with 32 thermal imaging systems valued at $18,000 each, totaling $576,000. 47 motion sensors at $4,000 each, totaling $188,000. 18 acoustic detection arrays at $12,000 each, totaling $216,000. And 12 seismic sensors at $8,000 each, totaling $96,000. Total sensor investment exceeded $1.1 million, creating detection network superior to attacking force despite numerical disadvantage. Defensive plan anticipated fog attacks specifically. Thermal systems penetrated fog detecting body heat. Motion sensors triggered alerts on movement. Acoustic arrays located direction of sounds. Artillery support was pre-registered with fire missions covering all approach routes. Investment in defensive preparation over 2 months exceeded $3.7 million, including fortifications, sensors, ammunition stockpiles, and training. Ukrainian defensive investment was fraction of Russian assault force value, but technology and preparation multiplied effectiveness. Engagement would last 41 minutes from first detection to complete destruction of assault force. 783 attackers would be killed from machine gun fire, artillery fragmentation, and disorientation, causing casualties from friendly fire and mines. 157 would be wounded and captured. 47 would escape, but with severe psychological trauma from experiencing slaughter they couldn't see or understand. Assault force would cease to exist as organized unit with no terrain gained. Financial losses would exceed $57 million, accounting for personnel training, equipment destruction, medical costs, and operational impact. This happened days ago during morning fog conditions that Russian command assessed as tactical advantage. Battlefield remains as fog-shrouded killing ground with hundreds of bodies. Strategic implications of sensor technology advantage continue affecting tactical doctrine. This is what occurred during those 41 minutes when fog became death shroud. Fog has been exploited militarily throughout history as concealment for surprise attacks. Limited visibility prevents defenders from seeing approaching forces until close range, reducing reaction time and effectiveness of ranged weapons. Attackers can approach unseen and achieve tactical surprise. However, this advantage assumes defenders rely on visual observation, assumption invalidated by modern sensors. Thermal imaging detects infrared radiation emitted by warm objects, displaying temperature differences as visual image. Human body at 37 degrees Celsius emits infrared radiation, invisible to eye, but clearly detected by thermal sensors. Fog is transparent to infrared. Water droplets don't block infrared wavelengths effectively. Result is thermal imaging sees through fog clearly, while visual observation is blind. Motion sensors detect movement through various methods: radar, infrared, acoustic, seismic. Modern military motion sensors can detect human movement at ranges exceeding 200 meters through fog, darkness, or vegetation. Multiple sensors create overlapping coverage, eliminating dead zones. Network sensors provide exact location and movement tracking, allowing precise targeting. Ukrainian defensive position had been prepared over 2 months, specifically anticipating attacks exploiting reduced visibility. Thermal imaging systems were positioned at 15-meter intervals along defensive line, providing comprehensive coverage of approaches. Sensors were connected to central fire control, coordinating defensive fires. Every approach route was pre-registered for artillery, with coordinates stored digitally, allowing immediate fire without adjustment. Machine gun positions were constructed with overhead cover and firing ports, allowing operation in any weather. Guns were equipped with thermal sights, enabling engagement at maximum effective range, regardless of visibility. Ammunition supply was abundant, with 20,000 rounds per gun, enabling sustained fire. Fields of fire were cleared in range with markers invisible to attackers, but familiar to defenders. Russian planning was based on assumption. Fog provided concealment advantage. Intelligence assessment indicated Ukrainian position lacked sophisticated night vision or thermal capabilities. Incorrect assessment based on outdated information. Plan called for 6 infantry companies advancing simultaneously on 2-kilometer front, overwhelming defenders through mass before visibility improved. No artillery preparation was planned. Bombardment would alert defenders and waste ammunition, better saved for consolidation. Assault force assembled at 0430 in attack positions 800 meters from Ukrainian lines. Infantry organized in assault waves, with first wave of 200 advancing to breach defenses, second wave of 200 exploiting breach, third wave of 140 consolidating captured positions. Heavy weapons teams would provide suppression while grenadiers engaged any strong points. Command element would follow second wave and establish control. At 0540, first assault wave began advancing through fog. Visibility was severely limited. Soldiers could see approximately 20 meters. Navigation relied on compass and counting paces, with platoon leaders guiding movements. Formation was loose, with soldiers maintaining contact through sound and limited visual reference. Speed was slow due to uncertain footing and need to maintain formation. At 0543, Ukrainian motion sensors detected movement at 600 meters. Alerts were transmitted to fire control, showing location and direction of movement. Thermal imaging confirmed contact, showing 200 human signatures advancing in line formation. Defensive commander assessed situation and ordered holding fire until attackers reached 400 meters, optimal range for maximum casualties before attackers could withdraw or take cover. Russian assault wave continued advancing, unaware they were detected. Officers urged speed, believing surprise was being achieved. Some soldiers expressed concern about silence. No defensive fire, no illumination, no indication of alert. Officers dismissed concerns, attributing silence to successful concealment and surprise. Advance continued through fog with confidence. At 0551, lead Russian elements reached 400 meters, triggering pre-planned defensive response. Artillery fire mission was transmitted electronically to batteries 7 kilometers away. Guns were already loaded and aimed from previous missions. Time from fire mission to first rounds impacting was 37 seconds. Machine guns opened fire simultaneously along entire defensive line, guided by thermal imaging showing exact target locations. Artillery rounds began impacting at 0551 in 37 seconds. Shells landed in pattern covering assault wave frontage and depth. High explosive rounds detonated, creating fragmentation patterns. Airburst fuses detonated shells 3 meters above ground, maximizing fragment dispersion against exposed infantry. Steel fragments traveling at 1,500 meters per second shredded human bodies caught in open. Machine gun fire was precisely directed by thermal sights. Gunners could see individual soldiers clearly as heat signatures and engage each target methodically. Concentrated fire from multiple guns created interlocking fields with no cover or concealment. Soldiers were killed by multiple impacts as different guns engaged same targets. Rate of fire was sustained. Modern machine guns fire 800 rounds per minute with barrel changes every 2 minutes, maintaining continuous fire. Russian assault wave experienced instant catastrophe. Artillery shells appeared from nowhere, exploding among formations. Machine gun fire came from invisible sources, cutting down soldiers. Fog prevented seeing sources of fire or finding cover. Orders couldn't be heard over explosions and weapons fire. Unit cohesion disintegrated immediately as soldiers reacted individually to unseen threats. Some soldiers attempted advancing, believing only option was closing with enemy and fighting at close range. Movement drew concentrated fire. Thermal imaging tracked every person and directed fires precisely. Soldiers were killed attempting to run through beaten zone. Others went prone seeking cover, but frozen ground provided none, and artillery continued landing, making prone positions death traps. Some soldiers attempted withdrawing, but became disoriented in fog. Without visual references and with adrenaline affecting judgment, soldiers moved in wrong directions. Some moved laterally along front, running into different Ukrainian firing positions. Others moved deeper into killing zone, approaching Ukrainian positions instead of withdrawing. Few moved correctly toward Russian lines, but artillery pursued them, causing casualties during withdrawal. Second assault wave at 300 meters heard explosions and gunfire, but couldn't see what was happening through fog. Officers attempted getting situation reports from first wave, but radio communications were fragmented and contradictory. Some radios reported heavy casualties and requested support. Others reported complete destruction of units. Several radios went silent mid-transmission. Decision was made to advance supporting first wave. At 0604, second assault wave advanced into killing zone. Ukrainian sensors detected new targets and directed fires to engage. Artillery adjusted fire missions covering new target locations. Machine guns shifted aim to second wave while continuing engaging survivors from first wave. Result was 200 additional personnel entering comprehensive killing zone with no cover and no ability to effectively return fire. Second wave experienced same slaughter as first. Invisible artillery and machine guns killed soldiers who couldn't see threats or identify targets to engage. Some soldiers fired randomly into fog, hoping to suppress enemy positions, but couldn't determine if fire was effective. Most were killed before getting opportunity to return fire. Unit commanders were priority targets. Thermal imaging showed officers by their positions, in formations and radios they carried. Eliminating officers degraded coordination and command. Third assault wave at rear of formation could hear sustained explosions and weapons fire, but had no visual understanding of battle. Radio communications indicated catastrophic casualties, but specific information was unavailable. Some units reported annihilation, others reported being lost in fog under fire. Command element attempted coordinating response, but situation was chaos with no clear picture of battlefield. At 0613, Ukrainian fire shifted to third wave and command element positions. Artillery began landing at positions where thermal imaging showed personnel concentrations. Machine guns engaged targets at extended range as soldiers attempted withdrawing. Heavy weapons teams with mortars attempted supporting assault, but couldn't identify targets and fired ineffectively. Command element was struck by artillery at 0615. 3 shells landed within command group, killing battalion commander and 6 staff officers. Radio equipment was destroyed. Surviving officers were wounded or disoriented. Chain of command was broken with no designated successor able to assume control. Assault force now lacked any coordination with individual companies acting independently without understanding overall situation. By 0620, assault had completely failed. First wave was destroyed with casualties exceeding 90%. Second wave suffered similar destruction. Third wave was withdrawing in disorder under continued fire. Command structure was eliminated. No Ukrainian positions had been reached. No terrain had been seized. Operation was total failure. Withdrawal became rout as panic spread through survivors. Soldiers fled individually or in small groups without coordination. Some discarded weapons and equipment to run faster. Officers attempting to organize defense or orderly withdrawal were ignored by soldiers focused on survival. Fog that was supposed to provide concealment advantage became disorientation factor, preventing organized movement. Ukrainian artillery pursued withdrawing forces, firing on sensor-detected concentrations. Shells landed among groups attempting to withdraw, causing additional casualties. Some soldiers were killed after already being wounded and attempting to evacuate battlefield. Others were killed by repeated artillery strikes as they moved slowly through difficult terrain and fog. At 0621, some Russian soldiers began entering minefield positions on flanks of approach routes. Mines were positioned specifically for forces attempting flanking movements or disorganized withdrawal. Anti-personnel mines detonated, fragmenting bodies and causing horrific injuries. Wounded soldiers triggered additional mines, creating chain reactions. Minefield casualties added to artillery and machine gun losses. Friendly fire incidents increased as visibility remained limited and survivors became disoriented. Russian soldiers in fog mistook other Russian soldiers for enemy and fired on them. Some groups engaged each other in sustained firefights before realizing error. Fratricide casualties added to already catastrophic losses, but exact numbers were impossible to determine in chaos. By 0630, sustained fire decreased as targets became sparse. Ukrainian sensors showed few remaining heat signatures in killing zone. Most were wounded or dead lying stationary. Mobile signatures were withdrawing beyond effective range. Artillery shifted to harassing fire on withdrawal routes, preventing reorganization. Machine guns conserved ammunition, having expended thousands of rounds. Ukrainian forces launched limited ground patrol at 0645 to assess damage and secure any intelligence materials or prisoners. Infantry moved forward from defensive positions, advancing through fog using thermal imaging to navigate. Battlefield was devastated, bodies lying in dense concentrations, wounded calling for help, abandoned weapons and equipment scattered across terrain. Patrol secured 114 wounded Russian soldiers and evacuated them to medical facilities. Injuries ranged from fragmentation wounds to crushing blast trauma to severe bleeding. Many required immediate surgery for survivability. Some wounds were so severe survival was unlikely despite treatment. Medical personnel treated all wounded regardless of nationality per international law. Casualty assessment took 2 days because fog persisted, and battlefield clearance was a slow, dangerous process. Final count showed 783 Russian soldiers dead from machine gun fire, artillery fragmentation, mine explosions, and fratricide. Many bodies showed multiple wound channels indicating engagement by multiple weapons. Some were killed instantly. Others bled to death from wounds while lost in fog, unable to find aid. 157 wounded were captured and survived. Injuries would cause permanent disability in most cases. Amputations from mine wounds, traumatic brain injuries from blast overpressure, shrapnel permanently embedded in bodies. Recovery would require months or years with uncertain outcomes. Some would never return to duty. 47 soldiers escaped relatively uninjured, but were psychologically devastated. They experienced sustained attack by invisible enemy, witnessed mass casualties among comrades, became disoriented in fog, unable to navigate, fired on fellow soldiers by mistake. Post-traumatic stress disorder was inevitable, with symptoms including flashbacks, insomnia, anxiety, depression. Most would be medically discharged from service. Economic analysis revealed catastrophic financial losses. 783 soldiers killed represented $32.9 million in training investment completely wasted. Replacement required recruiting new personnel, conducting 6-month basic training plus specialist training and unit integration. Minimum 9-month process costing equivalent amount. However, replacement wasn't simple substitution. Experienced soldiers killed included 23% with combat experience from previous rotations. Experience couldn't be trained, only gained through time. Capability gap between veteran soldiers and fresh recruits meant units would operate at significantly reduced effectiveness for extended period. 157 wounded requiring medical discharge represented additional $6.6 million in training investment lost. Medical treatment costs for wounded averaged $48,000 per person for initial treatment, surgeries, and rehabilitation. Total medical costs exceeded $7.5 million. Disability pensions for permanently disabled veterans would cost approximately $28,000 annually per person over average 30-year life expectancy. Total pension liability exceeded $131 million, though distributed over decades. Equipment losses compounded personnel casualties. 783 soldiers killed meant loss of personal equipment, valued at $8,500 per soldier. Total equipment loss exceeded $6.7 million. Items like night vision devices, radios, advanced optics were completely destroyed or captured. Some equipment was recoverable from battlefield, but much was damaged by artillery fire or contaminated by bodily fluids, making salvage uneconomical. Heavy weapons losses were particularly significant. 18 PKM machine guns worth $4,000 each, totaling $72,000 destroyed. 23 Cord heavy machine guns worth $12,000 each, totaling $276,000 lost. 12 82mm mortars worth $18,000 each, totaling $216,000 destroyed. 82 RPG-7 systems worth $2,000 each, totaling $164,000 lost. Total heavy weapons losses exceeded $728,000. However, replacement cost exceeded destroyed value because weapons required delivery from production facilities experiencing delays, installation of accessories and optics, and zero calibration, process adding 30 to 50% to base weapon cost. Ammunition expenditure analysis showed additional losses. Each soldier carried average 120 rounds rifle ammunition, 4 grenades, 2 smoke grenades, supplies, and equipment. Total ammunition lost with casualties exceeded 94,000 rounds rifle ammunition, valued at $47,000, 3,132 grenades, valued at $63,000. Additional crew-served ammunition for machine guns and mortars valued at $89,000. Combined ammunition losses approached $200,000. Operational impact costs exceeded direct financial losses. Battalion destruction eliminated entire regiments' assault capability, requiring reallocation of forces from other sectors. Planned offensive operations dependent on this battalion capturing objectives were canceled. Alternative operations using different units required replanning and coordination, consuming staff time and delaying execution by 3 weeks minimum. Delay allowed Ukrainian forces to reinforce threatened sectors and prepare defenses. Advantage that would cost additional casualties when operations eventually proceeded. Strategic opportunity costs were substantial. Resources invested in destroyed battalion couldn't be invested elsewhere. Personnel killed couldn't participate in other missions. Equipment destroyed wasn't available for different operations. Training time consumed preparing battalion for attack was wasted. Intelligence resources focused on attack planning weren't focused on other requirements. Cumulative opportunity cost exceeded $15 million beyond direct losses. Comparative cost analysis showed Ukrainian defensive investment generated extraordinary return. Ukrainian sensor systems worth $1.1 million destroyed Russian assault worth $40.4 million in personnel training, plus $9.2 million in equipment. Total destroyed value $49.6 million. Additional medical costs and pension liabilities pushed total economic impact beyond $65 million. Ukrainian defensive investment return ratio exceeded 59-1. Every dollar invested destroyed $59 of enemy capability. Psychological and morale costs compounded material losses. Battalion destruction demoralized entire regiment as personnel learned of disaster. Adjacent units became reluctant to conduct attacks in fog or limited visibility regardless of tactical situation. Trust in leadership decreased as soldiers questioned decision-making that sent battalion into obvious death trap against sensor-equipped defense. Morale degradation spread through division, affecting combat effectiveness across multiple units. Quantifying morale impact was difficult, but intelligence assessments indicated combat effectiveness decreased approximately 15 to 20% in affected units for 2 months following disaster. Long-term strategic costs extended beyond immediate battle. Regiment required complete reconstitution, consuming replacement personnel and equipment that could have formed new units or reinforced other sectors. Reconstitution process required 3 to 4 months, withdrawing regiment from combat operations, creating gap in defensive line, requiring redistribution of forces. Redistribution thinned other sectors, creating vulnerabilities exploited by Ukrainian forces in subsequent operations. Total economic impact exceeded $57 million in direct costs, with indirect costs potentially adding another $30 million. Attack intended to capture defensive positions worth negligible tactical value instead consume resources equivalent to entire battalions' value, plus medical and pension liabilities extending for decades. Cost-benefit analysis showed catastrophically negative return, zero territorial gain against total battalion destruction, and multi-decade financial burden. 987 soldiers began assault. 783 died. 157 wounded, permanently disabled. 47 psychologically traumatized and medically discharged. $57 million minimum direct financial loss. Technology defeated tactics. Sensors penetrated fog. Information advantage determined outcome before first shot fired. Strategic consequences affected Russian tactical doctrine immediately. Fog attacks were recognized as ineffective against modern sensor-equipped defenses. Future operations required reconnaissance, confirming defender capabilities before committing forces. Risk assessment procedures were revised, demanding higher intelligence confidence before approving attacks in limited visibility. Psychological impact spread beyond survivors. Units hearing about massacre became reluctant to conduct attacks in fog or other limited visibility. Trust in leadership decreased as soldiers questioned decision-making that sent battalion into obvious death trap. Morale degraded across formations in region, affecting combat effectiveness. Ukrainian defensive success demonstrated technology advantages, decisive importance. Thermal imaging and sensors eliminated traditional concealment advantages of fog, darkness, vegetation. Defenders could see clearly while attackers were blind. Information advantage enabled precise engagement with no wasted ammunition or exposure of defensive positions. Result was one-sided slaughter with defender casualties of 0. The engagement proved modern warfare heavily favors technologically superior defender in any visibility conditions. Attackers relying on traditional concealment assumptions faced invisible enemy with comprehensive battlefield awareness. Fog that was supposed to enable surprise attack instead created confusion, enabling systematic destruction. Natural phenomenon became tactical disadvantage when exploited by superior technology. 730 soldiers entered fog expecting to achieve surprise and seize positions before defenders could respond effectively. Instead, they found comprehensive sensor network detecting every movement and directing precise fires. 41 minutes later, 583 were dead, 114 wounded, assault force destroyed, no terrain captured. Technology determined outcome before first shot was fired. The morning fog was natural meteorological phenomenon. The massacre was technological inevitability. Sensors detected movement. Thermal imaging identified targets. Precision fires destroyed formations. Fog concealed slaughter from attackers while revealing them completely to defenders. Result was mathematical expression of technological superiority.